pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. The panel already in place. Good afternoon, Wheeler. Good morning, Charles. And good morning, Coach Pettaway. Coach Pettaway, you look cold. I know it's not cold in
Yeah,
Birmingham, huh?
yes, it is. It's a little
Oh,
chilly out here this morning, and the
uh-oh.
action will heat up on the gridiron later on. But yeah, it's a little chilly out here this morning.
Well,
It's in the
I trust.
50s. It's in the 50s.
Oh, man, yeah. 50s are like 30s. When you're in South Louisiana and the Deep South. Well, the panel is here. Here's simply what's trending. Southern University fires Coach Graves after 1.5 season. I know it's going to be animated on today's show. It's going to be energized. Um, what's next for Southern University football program? And there are a lot of rumors going on. There's disinformation. Who really knows? Nobody really knows. You have opinions. Facts and opinions will be a topic on today's show. Also, classic games, Magic City, where Coach Pettaway will attend, and the Las Vegas Classic, first year classic. Reports are they're having a great time in Vegas. Just remember, be safe. That's all I'm going to say. I had just a tragic experience in Vegas, but it wasn't Vegas' fault. And then there's a football game, Jaguars and Rattlers. And just looking at some of the stats scoring, they're just at the bottom, both teams. Some smart aleck said it's the Pink Classic, Pink Slip Classic. No, I don't understand about that one. But both teams looking for a victory. And there's also the interim coach that has been selected, who has a lot of experience, head coaching experience, won championships, Coach Fred McNair. So, with that being said, you could just spend the whole show talking about it. But I'll give my thoughts, and then we'll have the panel.
Hello.
Coach Graves was no. Coach Graves, great person, came on this show multiple times. Um, it makes you think about the business side of it. Now, when I tried to separate the emotional part because how I felt about Coach Graves, but then I look at the facts. The facts is this: 1-6, no matter, and there's multiple underlying reasons for that. Won the Western Division, but again, if you take the emotions out of it and just look, sometimes it's better to be good and lucky. And we looked at a program defensively that was much better than this year. So you look at the whole total of what's going on, the players are, the athletic director, the athletic administration, the board of supervisors. All of these are characters in there. Also, you can't forget about the fans. And I went back and forth all week. Well, the fans, they have a say in how the atmosphere is going. They have a say. So you just can't strike out the fans and say, well, they don't play football. They're not that important. Yes, they are. So it's multiple factors going on. And at the end of the day, you still need the fans to buy into the program. I know that you have to have a plan going forward. The administration is going to have to come up and what is their plan now going forward? I can't answer that for them. Also, when you look at it, it's some buyouts involved financially. Now, there are reports out there that Coach Dooley, the former coach, has been paid off. That's not what my source told me. That's coming in January, 153,000. Then Coach Graves, unless there's a cause, he's owed 299,000. Then you've got to get a coach. So somebody's paying that money, and usually what they have done, they have also kind of worked it out like when Coach Richard was let go, he agreed to be paid in installments. Dooley, same thing, installments. Coach Graves, looking at his contract and his public record, there is a way that he can be paid 75,000 about, but I'm just going to say he's owed for next year and the half of this season.
The
So you're
entire
looking at
contract.
so you're looking at a good bit of money. So I'll stop there. I'm sure more comments coming in the chat room. Value your opinion. Facts is, Coach Pettaway, the facts is 1-6. Now, the opinion is, should he have been allowed to finish out his contract? Some of the opinion of that. Some of the opinion of that, no, we had to make a move now. Some of the opinion that why not to the end of the season and then make adjustment. Also, there's an opinion that loyalty can be good and it can be bad. Now, what I mean by that statement, I think they approached the situation and said, could you consider making adjustments on your staff? So, Coach Pettaway, if you're struggling at Alabama A&M basketball, which you didn't, but they come to you and say, what can we do? How can we help you? Would you consider making changes on your staff? If you say
at the end of
no,
the season,
yeah,
at the end
okay.
of the season, not during the season, because my loyalty would be to my staff and their families. I don't believe in putting a guy on the street by my hand now without proper notice. So not at the end of the season, yes, when it's the normal time, I might look at making an adjustment. But let me just go back and say this from one coach to another. I feel bad for Coach Graves and this entire situation. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm from the state of Alabama, and we have a guy down here that they think can walk on water when it comes to coaching football. I don't think he can get it done in a year and a half. So why would they expect Coach Graves to be able to get it done in a year and a half? Just because he went to the championship game last year, he doesn't have the same personnel. So because they're struggling this year, you get rid of a guy who made it to the championship game after a half season. That's not right. That's not right. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with this pitcher. I understand that we're supposed to win, but there are a lot of circumstances that will prevent you from winning that we don't see and don't know because we're not in the inside. I guarantee you there are underlying reasons why that football team's not successful this year, and it cannot all be put in Coach Graves' lap. So that's from me, from one coach to another. This whole entire situation stinks. I don't like it. I feel sorry for Coach Graves. I think he's a great person. He's a great leader, and some of the things that he implemented and did during his tenure there at Southern University, I think it'll help the program going forward. But giving a coach a year and a half, I don't think it's right, man. It's not enough time. Nick Saban can come to Southern University, and he may not be successful in a year and a half. And he's supposed to be he's supposed to be the guy that walks on water when it comes to coaching college football. I just think sometimes we just got to sit back, man. There are other alternatives. You don't have to terminate a coach during the middle of the season. You gave this man 1 year and a half. I just don't think it's fair. And I know they're going to blast me for it, but I don't give a fat rat. I think it's unfair.
well, Coach Pettaway, let me say this. On this show, everyone's opinion is valued.
Right.
And so, you don't have to worry about that. Trust me, I get more email than you do about, and so you kind of got to, in my situation, I just have to have tough skin. I try to sit back I try to separate the emotion. My brother called me and he's been watching what's going on. He said, Carlos, I love you to death. But before I lose my job, I'll fire you behind. Wow. I mean, he
Yep.
said, I love you to death. No doubt about it. Coach Graves is a great person. Like I said, came on
Yep.
this show. And so they have made the decision. Now the onus is all on those characters I mentioned before. Now, from wait a minute, let me finish. Let me finish.
Carlos.
I'm almost
Go ahead.
through.
Go ahead.
I'm going to support all the coaches at Southern University until otherwise. So I
Right.
do feel bad, but there's that but. It it's over with. They've made their decision, and now it's on them. And you know who I'm talking about? Them. Now, all of these things about who's the next coach. I mean, it got so many lists, so many people giving their opinions. But at the end of the day, they are going to be held responsible for the decision that they made. Go ahead, Wheeler.
Carlos, it's over, but it ain't over.
It's over
It
for
ain't
me.
over. It ain't over. It ain't over, Carlos.
It's
It ain't
over for
over.
me. I'm going on.
It's this whole
Mm-hmm.
thing just
Mm-hmm.
stinks to high heaven. Now I'm gonna
Yep.
catch some flack behind what I'm about to say, and that's okay, cause I ain't got no job no way, so it don't make no never mind. I can pretty
Mm-hmm.
much say what I want to say. My one question, well, really, I got a couple questions, but the first
Mm-hmm.
question is, why was Coach Graves hired in the first place? Because if all
Mm-hmm.
anybody was going to do was going to get a man a year and a half to get it done, why you hire him? Why waste the time?
Mm-hmm.
Let him go and find a job somewhere else and, do what he's been doing for the last 35, 40 years. To me, it made absolutely no sense whatsoever to bring the man in if you wasn't going to give him, and not you, Carlos, if they weren't going to give him the opportunity, okay, the proper opportunity to get the program where it needed to be. And for all is said and done, I haven't heard a plan yet. What's the plan?
They're gonna
You
have to
know,
answer that
where you
question.
guys going? Where they going? Where they going with this? Are they going to give the next person time? What is the requirement for being a football coach at Southern University? And I don't want anybody to tell me where he got to win.
Well,
Okay, because
that's a
in the
given.
grand scheme of things, that's just something else that's on the list of things that has to be done when you're the leader of a collegiate football program. What about all the other boxes that he checked off? I didn't see where you guys had any issues with the kids and all that sort of thing. From what I gather, the kids loved him.
Yep.
I didn't see any issue, with the coaches, and we did the loyalty thing, and loyalty is very important. In our jobs, Carlos, loyalty is
Mhm.
almost all you got.
Yep.
If I hire a man to do a job, then I want to give that man every opportunity to get it done. At the end of next year, if we still in the same boat, that sort of thing,
Mhm.
then I can rightfully call him in the office and coach. It's the end of 3 years. Haven't seen the progress that we need to see. We're gonna need to move in another direction. But who owns up to making the quote unquote mistake of hiring this man in the first place? If he should not have been hired, who made the mistake of hiring him? I want to hear from that person. I want to hear it loud and clear.
Mhm.
I messed up on this one. That's my bag, y'all. I messed up on it. I messed up on the one before that. I messed up on the one before that. This thing just rolls on. It's rolling downhill like a snowball. But I feel bad for Coach Graves. Number one, he's a great person.
Mhm. No
Let's make
doubt.
no mistake about that. He's a
No
great
doubt.
coach. He came up the hard way in terms of working himself up to this position. Took this man damn near 30 years to get here. Whole lot of time going out and getting the donuts for the other coaches and all that. Worked his way up from the bottom to the top. Then to finally get to the pinnacle and not get a proper opportunity to show what he can do. And now he may not get that next head coaching job, Carlos. The streets are full of guys right now, from Fobbs to Maynard, and the list just goes on and on. Okay, of guys right now who were former head coaches that are still out there trying to get that next opportunity. So there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. So we say, well, he'll get another opportunity, but I'm here to tell you, he may not get that next opportunity. And to have an opportunity and not be able to take advantage, full advantage of it, in terms of getting the opportunity to get it done, that's a travesty to me. Now, I'll get off my soapbox now and let Charles handle it, but it's just, man. And like I said, I would like to hear, and I ain't got to hear from nobody. Who am I, right? But I would like to hear from the higher-ups in terms of what the expectations are. Who are they looking for? What in particular are you looking for in that next individual? Are you going to give that next individual time to get it done? These are questions that the general public should be asking, because you guys can't keep throwing money down the drain. I know we got the biggest budget in the SWAC and all that sort of thing. All that sounds good for the public. But what school can give away? We just gave away $300,000. Now we're giving away another $250,000 or $300,000. That's something the volleyball team could be using. The track team could be using. Somebody else could be using. That's something that could enhance the payment, trying to pay student athletes with this NIL thing and all that sort of thing. So it's not like we got the dollars to give away, even though we had a big budget. So I'm sorry, I'm down off the box now.
Well, like I said, everybody's opinion is valid. Charles?
I'm kind of speechless a little bit here, which is very rare.
You speechless? Oh, come on.
Yeah, I am. Now, I got the word. I got a text during the Thomas show Monday night at 6:30 that Graves was out. But then at 9 o'clock Monday morning, Graves was on the coach's teleconference.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened between that and that? That's one of the many questions I have. I've seen the comments. Why was Graves hired in the first place? And I'm just trying to figure that one out. Eric Dooley hired Terrence Graves. Dooley was given a year and a half, after winning the division. He was fired after this loss that Southern had right here on this field. Okay, you promote Terrence Graves, and I know we can talk about it, agree to disagree, winning the Bayou Classic helped, but your reporting says that he was going to get the job regardless of whether he won or lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
So then we start right there. You give Graves a year and a half. Now, Dooley was stubborn. From what's being reported, Dooley wanted, the administration wanted Dooley to hire an OC and you step out of that role. Dooley wasn't going to do that. The losses piled up, and he was let go. All right? So Terrence Graves wins the division. Terrence Graves does make an adjustment. He promotes or puts Fred McNair involved in the play calling. He makes that change early in the season. I kind of disagree with the timing of it, because it was too early, I thought, for me. But he at least acknowledged that there was some change that needed to be made, at least do something to shake things up. That obviously didn't work, and he was let go. I'm as confused as anyone. I mean, if Graves wasn't the guy, then who was going to be the guy? I'm just trying to figure that one out. I mean, and I understand it's what have you done lately. So if you look at the numbers, Southern has lost in conference games by an average of 23 points a game. Jackson State, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, all right, average of 23 points a game. and that may
Unacceptable.
that may be perceived as very poor coaching. And so, even though Graves shook some things up internally, obviously the administration felt like there needed to be more of a change with the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so that obviously they made that decision. But does winning the division mean anything?
Yes, because
Okay.
they won it. They won it last year, and Dooley won it his first year.
Okay, but obviously it seems like it does,
Mhm.
because winning the division would at least, even though you might have had a tough year the next year for whatever reason,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have. If I'm an AD, I would have to eat that one. I wouldn't have. I would have waited to the end of the season and gone to my coach and said, "Hey, you're gonna have to make some changes within whatever that looks like. You got to do something at the end of the season." But what does the winning the division? What does that mean? Apparently, right now, the Southern University doesn't mean anything. You know how many teams would love to at least be in the SWAC championship?
Hold up right there. Hold up right there.
Okay.
I'll let you continue your point. In those contracts, from a financial standpoint, you do get a reward from a personal, the coaches, for winning the Western Division. And I think the drop off from that to where we are now, not speaking for them, but I guess they just felt that was too much of a drop. And then I wish we could play a lot of the footage from the press conference, not from the outside looking in, but from inside. Coach Banks said that they had discussions. You're right. They did make some changes, but he said they thought the changes would have made an improvement, and it didn't. And then he mentioned about the energy, because they were on the sideline the whole game.
Carlos, wait a minute, hold up.
No.
Football people, in terms of making this judgment, this decision.
They are the ones to make the decision, Will.
You got administrators. You got administrators looking from the outside. Okay.
No, they're not looking from the outside, Will. They're there day by day. They talked to him. They came and asked him, what kind of help can we give you? How can we help? He did make an adjustment with Fred McNair and Mark Fredericks. But now Mark Fredericks wasn't totally out the picture with calling plays. Now, how I know? Up there, I can hear and see what's going on. And then, with that being said, there probably was an offer to say make changes at the end of the season. Do you think of the possibility that he said, no, I'm loyal to my guys, their family, as you said, and even next year, I think we could turn it around?
I think you got to give the man, if at the end of the season, when it's all said and done, and we sit down and we have our powwow, and I say, well, Coach Graves, I really think you need to make some changes, staff-wise, that sort of thing. Okay? And, putting it all out there on the table at the end of the season, when I've had a proper,
how do we know it wasn't said?
To evaluate, but I would not have put that on the table in the middle of the season.
How do we know it wasn't it to the end of the season and make that? It's just an opinion, and I understand your point that you would not have done it. Coach Pettaway would not have done it. Charles would not have done it. Myself, if I'm an AD, I'll wait until the end of the season. But I know deep down, I've got to look at all of the different participants in this. It's just not the administrative position. They have a main part in it, but you still have to talk with the team and different things. But again, it's going to come back to the people who made the decision. Charles, go ahead. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, this week we kind of knew this was happening. This was going to happen today because everybody's kind of fired up about it, and I'm more confused. I mean, when I first got the news during the show the other night, I was a little bit angry and upset, but then I had to calm myself down and I'm like, I'm really confused. And the PR spin of this too from Monday didn't look good. The optics. He was on the coach's teleconference Monday at 9:00, and then he's out, and there was a statement. I just think that didn't look good. And I'm a PR person. I like the way things look in the optics. That didn't look good. But then I just go back to what people have been saying. Why was Graves hired to begin with? And it seems like more and more energy is coming out of Graves never should have been hired. Why?
Well,
Was
I got
it
a
an
theory on
indictment on
that.
Eric Dooley? The fact that Dooley was kind of stubborn in terms of not wanting to hire an OC, so you get rid of Dooley, and now it's an indictment on whether or not it was Dooley's fault, whether Southern didn't get it done when he was head coach. He had a pretty decent staff, a lot of Louisiana flavors we talked about, a lot of SWAC flavor as we talked about. So was it an indictment on Dooley by Graves getting it done? You give him a chance. But if it seems like Graves never should have been given the chance, then why not? What did Graves do to not deserve the job? Or maybe fans and folks in the Jaguar Nation felt like, and there are podcasters that have said this, it's time to sweep Southern's football program clean. Get rid of everybody and start anew with a new coach, a different kind of coach, like a Tremaine Jackson, someone that's outside of the beltway a little bit, and maybe start clean there. Maybe that's what people have been saying and now are saying at this point. And it seems like, based on what's out there, the coach that's going to be coaching Southern University football is going to be someone different that we might not know much about. That's the way it seems like it's going. I don't know. You know, you hear the usual cast of characters, the Ed Reeds of the world and all that. Aeneas Williams. Somebody asked me the other day, Aeneas Williams should throw his name in the hat.
Tell him come ask me.
I knew that was coming. I knew Ed Reed's name would pop up. I knew Aeneas Williams' name. Here's a question.
But you know, but Charles, Ed Reed and all of these.
I know.
You know how I feel. But it just has to be the right fit.
Correct.
What do you want, as Willa say? What do you want for your criteria? What are you looking for?
All right, so I'm going to ask you this publicly. We've texted about this week. If Fred McNair, as the interim head coach, runs the table, and there are people that have said that Terrence Graves hired his successor when Fred McNair was hired, people were saying that. If Southern goes undefeated the rest of the way, there is no chance, and you know what, that Fred McNair even is at least slightly considered to be Southern's next coach.
Oh, he could put in the application.
But
I'll tell you
he
what.
can fly a job, but I'm just from what I'm hearing, even if he runs the table, how can I put this? It is I don't want to say spirit, but the energy is this. They want to go away from
the usual
traditional SWAC coaches. Now, that's just them. My opinion, it has to be the best fit. And I'm pulling for Coach McNair to go out and win some games the rest of the season. The championship is out. That goal is out. You can't reach that. But what can you do? You can try to win and go out on a positive energy.
If I'm Coach McNair, I'm getting as far away as I possibly can, because the writing has already been put on the wall. Okay, that if I run the table and they give me the job, I'm only gonna have a year and a half to get it done. The history is already up there. It's already out there. It don't matter what he
Guess what,
do.
Willer? I don't think he's gonna be considered.
And he's probably not. And
I'm just saying what I'm hearing.
Fred McNair, what I'm doing right now,
auditioning for another job.
I'm interviewing for the next position somewhere else.
Yeah.
By what I do with Southern University right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that he's got to look at that, and that's the way that he's got to carry himself moving forward. Yeah. But, I mean, after the last two hires, rightly or wrongly, doesn't matter anymore. Okay. And I keep saying this. When it comes time to hire that next coach, you better be prepared, okay? Because they're going to ask for things accordingly with what they've seen transpire over the last few years. So
Well,
if you're not
gonna,
prepared, if you're not prepared to give up 4 years with an option for a fifth, it is going to severely narrow the pool in terms of quality. Understand what I'm saying? You're going to get a coach. You're going to have 500, 600, 700 people that's going to apply. When you start to narrow that down to the people that you truly want, that check all the boxes, that meet all the requirements, when they put their demands up on the table, you better believe they're going to look at the fact that the last two coaches was only here a year and a half. I better get what I can contractually right off the bat. And so they're going to want 4. There's no doubt about that. They're going to want 4 with an option for the fifth, okay? And they're going to want a salary that's greater, than what Coach Graves and Dooley was making, that sort of thing. So, if you guys aren't prepared for that, because it's coming, okay? I'm telling you, it's coming. And if you guys aren't prepared for that, then you're going to wind up having to accept a lesser guy as your next head coach. And when I say lesser guy, I'm not talking in terms of coaching ability or anything like that. But, there's some big names out there that's probably going to throw their hats in the ring, that sort of thing. You may have to settle for that next tier of guy, okay, because of the demands that's going to come from that person. And he ain't going to make it right now. He's going to wait until the interview process is done, that sort of thing. And he knows that he's y'all's guy. You got to have him. Can't do without him. And he's going to put his demand on the table, okay, and force you guys to make a call.
I firmly believe because of the attraction of Southern's job, the fan base, the salary, there will be, despite, and this is what I've learned, and because we've been through a bunch of coaching searches, despite all of that, what Wheeler said, and he's right, there's going to be some coaches that still want to come to Southern University, despite despite the year and a half, the last 2 coaches. The next coach is going to say, you know what, I feel like I can do better, to where I ain't going to get let go in a year and a half. So I'll roll the dice, and because it's a collegiate football job, and that's where I want to get to. The question is, what type of coach is Southern really looking for? And I think that's what Wheeler brought up again. Like, what type of coach? You've gone with the usual. You've gone with someone with SWAC experience, with Louisiana experience, and Dooley, and Graves with the SWAC experience, first coach to win the Bayou Classic from both sidelines. What type of coach are you looking for? Someone with FBS experience, someone who's successful on the FCS level, a high-level D2 coach like Sam Shade was. I mean, are you looking for Sam Shade? Are you looking for Sam Shade because he doesn't talk a whole lot, just let his winning do the talking? A little less of Tremaine Jackson, who talks a bit, but he's winning right now. It's just year 1, but it's what have you done for me lately? So what type of coach does Southern want in the next guy? Because right now teams are improving, teams are getting better, and I think that's going to be the question. Now, I will give Southern some credit here. Southern seems to pull the plug when things start sliding. We talked about Sean Woods in basketball. They were top 4 program, despite the swoons that he had in February and March. You get someone out of the box in Kevin Johnson. You see what he's done. So you check that box. You hire from within when Sandy Pugh left to go to Prairie View. Coach Bunches, you see what he's done. He's been terrific. Baseball, Kerrick Jackson took over for Cador, won a championship, but he left on his own. So I will give Southern a little bit of benefit of the doubt in terms of finding a coach. But football is what it's all about. Everybody talking about football, that's the cash cow. You got to get this one right. One right. What type of coach is Southern really looking for? SWAC hours, Louisiana hours, FBS hours. What type of coach is Southern really looking for that's going to turn things around?
And the good thing is, after this is all over, because we can speculate.
Go
ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Nick Saban's available. They might want to call him.
But you know how
He said that with a straight face.
He's a
You know,
proven winner.
Yeah, he said that with a straight face.
He's a proven winner.
and his wife continues to shop him
He's
in
familiar
Baton
with
Rouge.
Baton Rouge.
Yeah, his wife comes.
Hey, look, he's familiar with Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved alligator, Carlos.
And guess
You
what?
know?
His wife didn't want him to leave. She loves Baton Rouge. She's here all the time. And how he looks. You get what I'm saying? How he looks, his physical appearance. Even that option is on the table now.
Yeah.
Some people will have a problem, but on social media, at the point now, some of the Jaguars say, "I don't give a what color he is.
Yeah.
You just want to win." So I think all of the options are out there. When it's all over, we can ask them to come on the show. And what was their plan? How did they come to their decision? And Charles, you're right. Dave, my phone has not been. It's been hot for the whole week, and when I look at it, it's just a part of the business that's not popular sometimes. That's the business part. An emotional standpoint, opinion part, you love him to death. You love him to death. Good, and his social media, the message he put out was class.
Yeah.
Very class.
Mm-hmm.
Stomp Mitchell, when he was the head coach, when he got fired, class act. A lot of people didn't like what he did on the field, but things behind the scene that a lot of people don't know about what he did for that program.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to open it up and look for everybody. We can't change it. It's done. Coach Graves is gone. I know some people are like, well, boy, it seemed like you just ditched him that quick. No, I did not. It's the business part of it.
Yeah. Well, here's a question, Carlos, for me. All right, so the decision's been made, but you just go back and kind of play it back in your mind. Was this decision, and I think about Roman Banks. He was a former coach in this conference.
Mm-hmm.
If Roman Banks was on the sideline and he was told after 18 months or whatever length of time that he had to make a change on his bench, I wonder would he have done that? He's a former head coach in this conference, very successful.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder, was this decision and I know as Wheeler likes to say, as an AD, you got to fall on the sword. You have to take the hard decisions that come from above you. And there's a lot of people above Roman Banks. I wonder how much of it was the AD and how much of it is above the AD in this decision. Now, I say at Alcorn, when said, and of course, I'm kind of treading lightly here because our coach is struggling too. People want the same result, and I hate to say it, but people want the same result here that happened at Southern University. Mm-hmm. They want this exact same result. And so our president made the call himself who we wanted to be the next head coach. So that's on Dr. Cook. But I'm just wondering for Southern, we know politics, we know all that's involved. How much of this was on Roman Banks, you think? Or because I believe, just from the outside looking in, it was probably above Banks, and it fell to Banks to make the call.
Two things can be true at once.
When it's all said and done, and it's time to fall on the sword, then fall on the damn sword. When I say fall on it for everybody else to see that I have fell on the sword. If it's your call to make, I messed it up. I was looking for this, that, and the other. This wasn't panning out. I decided we needed to go ahead and move in the right direction. I made that call. I made a mistake in terms of the hire in the first place. I fully own this thing. Go ahead and do it. Put it out there. Don't let things linger. Because at the end of the day, you did make the direct hire. You did make the direct hire with Dooley. Am I correct, Carlos? If I'm wrong, let me know.
He came on this show and said he had the pleasure to make the direct hire.
At the end of the day, there was obviously something I didn't do in terms of the vetting process, in terms of the last two hires that were made. And if that was on me, then fall on that damn sword, get it out the way. I'm going to do better moving forward. This is what we're doing. This is what we have in place moving forward to ensure that we get it right this time. Now let's rally the troops around me,
Yeah.
around what we're trying to do, and then let's go on from there. That's all I'm saying.
Boy, I tell you, look,
Now,
it's
if you
it's
came to me
lightening up.
during the season and said that okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you came to me during the middle of the season and said, Coach, I think you need to look at making a change to your staff, I would say, okay, we'll look at that at the end of the season.
Great.
I would not do it mid-season. I would
That's
say,
it.
sir, respectfully, sir, we'll do that. We'll look at that, but it's going to be after the end of the season. That's all. My whole beef is. Okay, go ahead, Carlos.
No, well, what if he's asked that and he says no? I feel confident. I'm loyal to my staff. I'm not going to do it. Then what happens then?
But at least you're giving him the option, Carlos, of getting through the season. He may feel entirely different once the season's over with.
But you're
By the
saying
end of the year. Yep.
yeah, but you're saying that. But if they did that at the end of the year, see, we were all saying it's the mid-season. What if they did say, would you make changes at the end or consider making changes at the end of the season? And if you, because of your loyalty, says I'm not going to do it, then what happens?
I'm going to have to say we might have to go in another direction.
Might?
We might
Okay.
have to go
Okay.
in another direction as it pertains to the program. Let me give you a little bit of time to think this over.
Apparently they came to him early.
Come back on Monday. Let's have this conversation again. Okay? Because sometimes you need a little bit of time away from the environment so you can go home and tell a wife, look, Mr. Brown getting ready to fire me if I don't let so-and-so go on Monday. Baby, what it is, what do I need to do? You see what I'm saying, Carlos? But we're at the end of the season now, and that's the proper time to put all this out there on the table. Not during the middle of the year. Not during the middle of the season. Don't come to me.
We're saying
in the middle of the year and tell me I want so and so gone at the end of the season, or at the end of the season you're gonna have to let so and so go. Don't do that in the middle of the year.
How we know it didn't was asked early on when there was trouble, and you could see it. The 1-6 it's not an opinion. It's the fact what the record was. But from my understanding, they went early to ask him, and he considered the change with the offensive coordinators. Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And so again, if you're asked, not in the middle. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up. At the end of the year, would you consider making changes? And I say, well, all due respect, I'm loyal to my staff. I'm not going to consider it.
Then we might have to go in another direction.
But we're just assuming.
Okay with that. But Carlos, while we at it, I'm gonna look at the strength and conditioning coach because my guys getting pushed around up front, offensively and defensively.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's clear to see.
But that's my point. It's more than just one.
And I'm looking at my
decision.
offensive and defensive line coaches because obviously something ain't going on up front on both sides of the ball.
Right.
So it's just not a single issue, where I'm just looking at Mark Frederick. I'm looking at everybody.
As it should be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
We making the calls.
You open up everything.
Open
up everything. But I've said that on numerous shows at the end of the season. At the end of the season. But you have to make adjustment during the season. And apparently, whatever they tried, it still did not work. So they made the decision. Whether you agree with it or not, I understand. Y'all disagree with it. Excuse me. but there are some that agree with the decision. Look in the chat room. Look at the
Yeah,
comment.
yeah.
And then
And,
and we could say, Charles, they don't matter, but they do. They buy
absolutely,
tickets.
absolutely,
They do everything. So we're all together in this. You're all
absolutely.
in this. And it's 2025. I can remember when athletic departments were run differently.
Yeah.
Now, example, like I've been in this business 25 years. All of a sudden, podcasts came up. And the organization I was with, they didn't believe in podcasts. They wanted to stick to the traditional, non-traditional way. I had to make a decision. Do I want to be stuck? Or do I want to evolve with the changing times? So I decided to say, hey, this podcast thing, I've done both. You either evolve or you can get left behind, but you still have to have the basics. The business aspect has changed a lot.
Yeah.
In 2025, from that time, from the 80s and the 90s.
Well, you talk about evolving. I mean, even here, the struggles with our offense. Cedric Thomas did make a tweak as far as his offensive staff is concerned, as far as play calling. That's one thing that he's done. And we scored 28 points last week against, FAMU. The offense, even though we couldn't run the football last week, and I think you got to credit FAMU's defensive line more so for that. But yeah, I mean, I think coaches hear and know and understand that changes have to be made. There's probably no good time to make a change. But at the end of the day, I just think that for Graves, maybe that one change he made as far as the offensive stuff's concerned, maybe that wasn't enough. Maybe there's really when you look at Southern University.
That's pretty much what Banks said in that press conference. And Charles, have you ever seen AD come to a press conference?
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
He should not have said it.
Yeah.
But he did.
He shouldn't have said it.
But he did. I saw him out of the corner of my eye. Oh, he's sitting there. That is unusual.
I'm for me, I'm an optics person. Sometimes perception's reality, sometimes it's not. And that was unusual what Banks did. And I like Coach Banks, good dude, good guy, was a great coach. And he has my respect as far as an athletic director based on past actions way back. I still respect him in terms of what he does, but that in that moment, that didn't necessarily have to happen. It didn't need to happen at that point in time. You don't do it right after a game like that. I just don't think you do that. It just doesn't look good at all. And so
you don't do it. Period.
No.
Period. You don't do it.
Not after the game. Not in that setting.
Period. Because with the Dooley situation, he didn't do that.
Right.
You can release a statement.
Yeah.
That's what they normally do. Continue.
And we've seen ADs give the dreaded vote of confidence to coaches mid-season.
And the next day.
And then at the end of the year, you know what happens. The plug is pulled on it. But as an administrator, and Wheeler knows this, you have to still look AD-ish. You still have to look presidential in that process, despite all the discombobulation. That wasn't the right time to do that, period. To me, I don't think it was the right time to do that after a tough loss. And coaches say things, ADs say things, but after a loss like that, it's just best to let that breathe and do what you've been doing. Let the coach do his thing. And yes, maybe as an AD, have a press conference, maybe in the middle of the week and just say, look, we're behind Coach Graves or whatever the case, if this was last week or whatever. But obviously, you saw the writing on the wall. You felt like it was one loss away. And so that's kind of the way that wound up. But the optics sometimes can hurt you more than anything, even though the optics can be wrong on the back end. The way it looks can also hurt you too. And I just thought that was just a tough look in that moment. And it got play on social media. It doesn't, again, I'm kind of a PR person. I like the way things look. That just was not something that you would do. And you add on top of that, at 9 a.m., Terrence Graves was on the SWAC coaches teleconference talking about, and maybe what he said in that teleconference hurt him. I don't know. But for him, if the decision was made last Sunday, then Fred McNair should have been on that teleconference Monday morning at 9 o'clock. But for Terrence Graves to be on there, and then 4 hours later, 5 hours later, or 6 hours later, he's gone. I mean, just the optics, how that looks. I think it's just, and I don't have a dog in the fight, but it's just, I like the way things look throughout this conference from school 1 to school 12, including right here at Alcorn State University. And so I think that look just, it was uncomfortable for me from afar. And I know it was uncomfortable for Graves and everyone, especially on Monday when he was head coach Monday morning at 9, but then at 5 o'clock he wasn't. I just think the optics of that looked kind of strange to me.
Well, I'm a realist. I leave the PR and stuff how it looks to you. Coach Pettaway's a coach from the coaching perspective. Respect that. Wheeler from administration aspect, I respect that. But I'm a realist. When I saw what happened at that press conference, I know he was good as gone. But I'm a realist about it. If you're a realist, you saw it coming. It just didn't jump out. Boom, the boogeyman, he's gone. You could see how it was being layered. Now I'm from the inside. I see from a different perspective and I see different things.
Why not make the move Sunday morning at 9 o'clock? If he was as good as
Sunday, Monday, he was gone, Charles.
Well, that's fine. I mean, but okay, he was good as gone. How
about if he wanted to say, look, I'm going out just the way, and Coach Graves has mentioned it. Yeah. I'm a still coach. But now he talked before Banks, and the question was asked, well, how do you feel that? I'm still going to do my job.
Right.
And so he says, Monday morning, he's going to do his job like every other morning, Monday mornings, right? Come to the press conference, right? And he says it. I'm sure he knows it's over. But the class person he still did his job to the end.
And I'm with Charles. Banks should have called him Sunday and told him Sunday. He should have called him Sunday.
He probably did. Come on, Will. He probably did.
Okay, but if he called him Sunday,
then why would he be on the Monday morning call?
That's all I'm saying.
Because he's doing his job to the end. So you have If you wait a minute, do you have a problem with Graves saying, "Hey, I'm still going to do it"? Because they could force him to do it, but if he doesn't, he's gone. He did it because he wanted to do it.
And say what? Do it and say what?
He's doing his job on the Monday conference as usual. He talked about the game, why they lost, going forward, what they need to do. Look,
so do you think
we could sit up here and say we wouldn't do it, but he still has a boss. The boss has a boss above him. And
saying the boss.
And you are naive to think that it doesn't happen.
I'm saying the boss made a mistake by allowing him to go out there on Monday morning and take that call. If he knew Sunday that he was going to let Graves go and that he was going to put McNair in the driver's seat, then McNair should have been the one on that call on Monday morning. Or it shouldn't have been a representative, or Banks himself should have been on the call on Monday morning.
Why would Banks be on a conference call talking about
I'm just saying.
Why would he be on there?
For the same reason why.
Wait a minute, he's administrative, right?
He said what he said.
Now, you can tell me McNair? Yeah. McNair.
I'm just saying, if he didn't want McNair there, then he should have been there himself. If you had to have a representative on the conference call Monday morning. I'm not saying Banks should have been there. I'm saying if somebody needed to be there and you didn't want McNair there, it should have been anybody but Coach Graves on that Monday morning call.
Yeah, because you do have other people on the staff.
Yeah, right. So I mean,
But again, what if Graves wanted to do it? Is Graves wrong for doing it? Is that what you're saying? Besides the optics and how it looks, if Graves said, no, I want to do it.
Even though he was out.
If he wants to do it, would you deny him doing that?
Yeah, but if he's out, he shouldn't be there.
He shouldn't.
If he's already out, if he's been told that he's out, Right.
So you believe they told him you go out there to that press conference? You believe that's the administrator, the AD told him?
I think by Graves saying what he
I don't
said,
know
he
what
said.
they told.
I think by him coming out saying even on the teleconference, as of right now, I'm the and he did say at this moment it's business as
Mm-hmm.
usual. I'm still there. So he might not have it might not have been officially done in that moment at 9:45 Monday morning. Maybe the wheels
It
behind
was
the
that
scenes,
evening.
yeah, the wheels were probably in motion at that time. And again, I hate to talk about it because you're talking about a person that's in the process of getting fired. And I know with life it happens, get over it, all that, but I just think that if the deal was done, if it was a done deal Sunday night, then it should have been an assistant coach or Coach McNair, someone that was representing Southern in that moment. And I don't know, Carlos. I'm just going to say, I don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. Maybe officially on paper, Graves wasn't out in that moment. Maybe it wasn't until 3:00 Monday afternoon when it happened. And that's when the statement came out, because I saw the statement about 6:30 during one of our breaks. I saw it. So maybe it wasn't a really done deal on paper until it was done Monday night. I don't know that, but it just kind of seems.
Let me add this. Let me back up. You remember the press conference said we're going to have a conversation Monday. That conversation was had, but a decision still wasn't made until that press conference, that press release was released.
Okay, so it was Monday evening.
Yeah, that's why I want to back up. During that time, he still was officially the coach. He was terminated that evening, that afternoon.
All right.
So that is why he was out there.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
If that's how everything transpired, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that if that decision was known on Sunday, okay, then all that took place on Monday could have taken place on Sunday, and then Monday you rolling out there with the new regime and all that sort of thing, and you trying your best to keep it moving from there. It just looked confusing, Carlos, like a half and half.
Well, and also I was talking to somebody. In the Dooley situation, it came quicker. But because, and let me say this, Coach Banks, Coach Graves, Banks was the basketball coach at one point at Southern University. And then I can't think about the assistant baseball coach that was under Coach Kadar. Floyd Kerr was the AD. Those guys that I mentioned, they grew up professionally together. So again, it's just like Coach Pettaway and me grew up in the business together. Then when the situation presents itself, my theory is that because they grew up together and they had a relationship, a special relationship, when the time came, they went that decision. The guys that I grew up in this profession, let's give them a shot. And remember, we talked about giving Coach Graves opportunity after 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
We also talked about giving opportunities to coaches that have paid the price, went the process, and now looking for an opportunity. My theory is that they're so close. When the time came to make a decision, a direct hire, which he came again on this show twice that I remember, and said he was allowed to make the direct hire by the people of influence. He goes with the guy he grew up in his profession with, including Eric Dooley. They all were there at the same time. So now, I guess my question is, in hindsight, maybe it was better just to go with somebody and take the emotion out of it. Take the point out that I grew up with them. Because it's going to be hard if it doesn't go right. And I've experienced this myself. It's going to be hard to go against. You're going to be going back and forth with somebody that you grew up in the profession with. Somebody you didn't know. Perfect example, Coach Pete Richardson had no ties to Southern University. None. He was the Division II football coach. And he came in. I remember the time when they were trying to make that hire. Dolores Spice, God rest her soul. She looked at all of the candidates that had already been in the SWAC, the gunslinger, the coach that was at Alabama State who really used the situation to gain his opportunity even more. She said, I'm going to go with somebody that's don't have ties. And sometimes now you reflect at the point you're at now. Do you go with that perspective or you go with somebody outside the perspective? I say, and I submit, don't know, I don't know exactly, but I think just from what I've been hearing, they're going to go to the latter part that I talked about. And so they grew up together in the profession. And again, Coach Pettaway, it's just like, okay, if you have a former player that comes on your staff, you have that connection with him. You're going to have to decide if it doesn't go right, man, I'm going back and forth. The guy played for me. I helped shape him and his life. Now I got to do the hard thing. I don't know if I can handle that.
But Carlos, I can do that. As a head coach, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's at the right time. I can do that. I can let a coach go, but unless that coach commits a crime or breaks a rule during the season, he's gonna make it to the end of the year. I'm not gonna make a change in the middle of the year because now, if I make a change in the middle of the year, how do I replace him? How do I come up with somebody else? You can't do it because it's the middle of the year. But I will sit down with that guy. It's time for him to move on.
But Carlos,
so yes, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think timing is everything.
Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry. Another reason why you gotta make sure that you check the boxes, okay, when you're looking to make that hire. Okay, and I look back, Carlos, on my time at A&T when we were coming off losing 2 years in a row. We were 0-27 or 0 whatever, that sort of thing. And a friend of mine who I played football with at A&T, okay, I made him the interim coach for the remainder of the season. He wound up going 3-1 the rest of the way. Okay, and at the end of the season, naturally we had the search and all that sort of thing and stuff. And I pulled him in the office and I told him, yeah, you're gonna be you're a candidate for the position. Because of our relationship, know that I'm gonna have to grade you harder than I do the other contestants for the position. Because if I decide to hire you, the first thing people are going to say, Wheeler Brown hired his boy. And if things don't go right, we got to part company, then there's going to be some issues with that. So I'm telling you up front, yes, you are a candidate for the position, a strong candidate for the position. But I can't grade you the way that I'm grading these other 50, 60 resumes because of our relationship. Okay? But I tell you this, you will always have a job as long as I'm at North Carolina A&T.
And that's happening right now, guys, even in real time, right there in Huntsville. Dante Jackson.
I didn't hire him, Carlos. I didn't hire him as the head coach.
Oh, yeah.
But I asked the new coach coming in to keep him on staff simply because he was an A&T legend, alum, Hall of Famer, the whole 9 yards, can really help you with the transition in terms of moving forward, knows the kids, know the environment, know where the bodies are, and all that sort of thing. Okay, and the guy coming in had worked with him before, and he was more than glad to keep him on staff. And there was no bad blood there or anything like that, and it just moved forward. So I think when you put those things out there up front, you have to know that when you transfer from a coaching to an administrative position, that anytime that you're looking to hire a quote unquote buddy, somebody that I grew up, in the system with and all that sort of thing, you know that you're going to be held. You got to hold that person to a higher standard simply because of the relationship. You know that going, and you got to be prepared accordingly.
And if you
But
look,
those conversations got to be had up front,
well,
and then you don't have no issue.
I don't know about up front, but I'm sure, boy, if we could be in the room and all these things are going, and then something else that some of, quote unquote, people in the Jaguar Nation, the staff really didn't change, but from Eric Dooley to Coach Graves, he basically kept the remaining staff, and some people didn't like that. It's the same staff. You just changed the head coach.
Well, what was wrong with Dooley's staff?
But why? Yeah, why would the staff change when? Okay, first of all,
when Dooley was let go, and Coach Graves came in, he kept basically the same stuff. Now he added a few pieces. Lately,
I would anticipate that he would not have changed the staff that much because he went out on a high note. He won the Bayou Classic, and even though we kind of watered that down, the next year he wins the division. So from that standpoint, unless a coach wants to move on his own, I think I'm
talking about between Coach Dooley and Coach Graves.
But Graves took over right after Graves took over.
He was on the staff, right? He was on the staff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, he was on the staff, but he wasn't going to make changes being named interim coach right away, I don't think. Southern was playing well that year, a couple of years ago. He wins the Bayou, so he kind of keeps things in place. His first full season, he wins the West. Unless the coach leaves on his own and takes a better opportunity, and that could happen, I wouldn't anticipate Graves making any changes. The changes were probably needed to be made this year a little bit, but we talked about it should have been made at the end of the year. So if everything was going well, you wouldn't make those changes. But because the bottom is falling out, now you want to blow the whole thing up in the middle of the season.
But the thing is, Charles, if you just take the emotion out of it and look, they were blessed. They were blessed to win the West. They were blessed because they won the close games, right?
But they won it.
You came for it? Yeah, but they won it. Now, this year, you didn't even lose the close games, the games against a very attractive home schedule.
Yeah.
FAMU and Jackson State, Alabama State. Now, you can catch yourself if you want. A loss is a loss. A win is a win. But when you lose by an average of 30-something points at home, come on.
You lost games in conference by an average of 23 points. I did the math.
That is not good.
No,
that
it's
is
not
good.
No. Nope. It isn't good. There's no doubt about that. It is not good. I think we all agree that something needed to be done. He did something. He made a little tweak with his offense. I don't know what he did, if any changes he made on the defensive side, because to me, I felt like coming into this season that Southern defensively would be strong, and you were going to be working with Woods at quarterback. He misses the bus going to Atlanta, and the offense has not gotten off the deck yet. You've gone with 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks. That's been a problem. But defensively, I wonder what
they went through that last year, right? Woods ends up starting later in the season. They went through 2 quarterbacks. That's a familiar situation there, right?
Yeah.
We talked about it. Defensively, they're just not good, Charles. They are not good. The fact says, the stat says they're not. I'm sure they were not saying, boy, we're lost. What can we do? They've tried different things. It just hadn't worked.
Okay.
So I guess all of the things is on the panel, you believe changes should have occurred after the end of the season.
Yeah.
They decided not to. So that was their decision.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it's proven wrong.
But Fred, you're saying this again. I'm coming back to Fred McNair, who I know really well. And look, in terms of coaches, it's hard for me. And I know you said you've moved on, but for me, as this being my job and what I do every day and talking with coaches every day, it's a little harder for me to move on immediately because you get to know coaches like Coach Pettaway, Coach Whitney, and all these other coaches I've worked with here at Alcorn. You get to know their wives and their kids and their families. So there's a connection. And as a job, as part of your job, you need to have that connection to get kind of the information you need that maybe other people don't get. So you can share the stories. So for me, you know, when Landon Bussey left, whether he was fired or whether he left, he wound up leaving to go to Chicago State. That was tough because I got to know a side of Landon Bussey a lot of people didn't know. So it's a little tougher, and I'm just speaking for me. When a coach leaves or gets fired, when Fred McNair left, it was tough. When Dr. Johnny Thomas was fired, it was tough. I can go back to me and coaches that I've dealt with here at Alcorn. It's always tough for me because I'm a little deeper in the pool than a lot of other people are when it comes to these things. So it's tough for me. And even for Coach Graves, I didn't know him that well, but he's a good dude. And just for it to happen when it happened, it was kind of tough for me. I was more confused than angry. I was slightly angry, but more confused, like, what is going on? And so now you kind of answered some of those questions for me. But for me, emotionally, it's tough when your job is tied to, in a way, getting to know these coaches in depth and up close and personal. It is tough, and it's hard for me to quickly move on. You eventually will have to, but the immediacy of it for me, I'm just speaking for Charles Edden, it's hard for me to do it right away.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago. I've been in the business a long time. You have to separate that. That's just me. Yeah. Because if you don't, it's an emotional roller coaster. You know, coaches are human beings.
Yeah.
They have families. They have to pay the bills. All of that's good stuff. Yeah. That's real.
Yeah.
But I try not to. You know, am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. I'm imperfectly perfect. But I learned a long time ago, you gotta separate it. When Coach Richardson was let go, I was angry. But I moved on. I moved on.
I guess with me, Carlos, the bottom line is that when you make a hire, okay, nobody's gonna be perfect in this game. And when I say nobody's going to be perfect, you're not going to make the perfect hire for every sport. Okay? You know that going in. And you know that at some point in time, you may have to try to divorce yourself from that situation. But what you want to make sure is that you've given the coach every opportunity to get it right. You know, so if I've signed you, Carlos Brown, to a 3-year contract with an option of the 4th, okay, at the end of those 3 years, we're going to sit back down and, you know, if I'm not pleased with the direction of the program, that sort of thing, I feel good because I've given you the opportunity necessary to get it done. So if you and I have to part ways at the end of year 3, at the end of your contract, I'm good with that. Not going to change our relationship, still going to love you like a brother, so forth, so on, all that sort of thing. You know, it's when these things happen and coaches aren't getting the opportunity to show what they can do, you know, like their knees are cut off and midstream, that sort of thing. That's where the negativity comes in terms of the entire quote unquote process. You know, and if I made a mistake in the hiring process, then I'm going to readily admit that at the end of the day that I did so. And I'm going to try to do better moving forward. Because like I said, you're not going to bat 1,000 in this game. Don't think that you are. You know, nor should it be a requirement. But at some point in time, you got to hit the ball somewhere. You know, you got to get a hit, single, double, triple, what have you. You know, you can't strike out every time and then be allowed to continue to make the decisions that you want to make.
Well, quickly, there's a firm, and there's a lot of good information out there from the articles. There's a firm that's now going to help with the situation. It won't be a direct hire. by banks he'll be involved in, of course, and others. Also, we need to take a break. So we'll take a break. We've been mostly talking about Coach Graves being let go and where does Southern go next. All of this came about the crowning point. Southern lost 24-3. Here comes the motion part. Alums, some that hadn't been there in 40 years, they're there, and they see the product on the field, and the classic guy Coach Graves is. In another statement, he takes full responsibility for what happened. That would be me at a press conference. I'm taking full responsibility. It's at the end of the day, it falls back on me.
Definitely.
And that's what he did. 24-3. Prairie View defeats Southern University. And boy, Coach Jackson and his amazing self, he had some little interesting comments. But I've been in business long enough. What goes around comes around. You're on one side saying something, and then you'll be on the other side saying something. We'll take a break. You're watching Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a state, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We lost Coach Pettaway. I'm sure he's getting ready for the Magic City Classic.
Big game down there.
Big game. By the way, Brian Fulford and Michael Road Dogg, he says the two buses are on their way. They stayed in New Orleans. And as we speak now, it's been storming all morning. All morning. What? You can't get a weather break. Last week at the end of the game, it was storming. Beginning of the game, there's some rain. It's this time of year. So will that have an impact on the crowd? Then there's always that afterwards, that homecoming. 8 to 12,000. Some people have told me in emails. I think you'll be able to get straight on campus this week. In the course of what has been going on, of course, Coach McNair, his interim phase starts today. He talked at a press conference about just doing the basic three things. Offensively, we've got to stay on the field. We got to get some drives going. Give the defense some rest. And then special teams, we got to flip the field. Just basic, good old-fashioned football. And with that being said, we'll talk a little bit quickly about Southern and FAMU. FAMU, a disappointing season so far as well. The difference, they've got one more win than Southern University. They've got two. Southern's got one. You look at offensively, they're both scoring points. The bottom two in the league. Leave it there. Defensively, FAMU, 8th or 9th. Southern defensively is at near the bottom. So it is what it is. It is what it is.
I will say it, Carlos. I saw FAMU last week on their homecoming, and I was there for that. And kudos to FAMU, a hell of a homecoming last week at Bragg. Everything from start to finish. So kudos to FAMU. First time I've been at Bragg to do a game, and it was an awesome atmosphere on their homecoming. Mm-hmm. FAMU's got a pretty good RPO game, Carlos, that Southern defensively is going to have to be disciplined to deal with. There's nothing flashy about James Colsey's team at all, but they got a bruiser of a back, a quarterback that has struggled at times, but can make those good decisions. And defensively, they're kind of nasty and pretty tenacious. So Southern better bring it today, or else FAMU will have a win down there today.
I guess the prognosticators would have FAMU favored, but from all what you just said, and still 2-6, I'm just surprised, very surprised that their record indicates they're not a good football team. But, I mean, every team has good points and bad points. It'll be interesting for us predictions on this game. Southern loses to Prairie View 24-3. Some similar things. One, didn't score in the first half. That's happened a few times. Scored in the second half, 3 points. Defense held it in there as long as they could. Prairie View scored 7 points in the second half. So it was 7-3 in scoring. I'm not going to even go through the usual stats, but I will say this: Trey Holly, 99 yards. They got a running game that thrives on big plays, but it'd be nice to have some drives, like Coach McNair said. I never thought I'd come to the day I would say 10, 11 plays, 75 yards, eat up about 7 minutes of the clock.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like dessert now. Passing game, 81 yards. And that, in a nutshell, is where that is the most problem. Also, with penalties and, undisciplined play, what you saw from game 1, you're seeing in game 7, or you saw in game 7. So from the fan perspective, that's the frustrating part. If Southern had 3 or 4 wins, maybe it would have made a difference. I don't know. But expectations are always high. Not only at Southern, but other institutions in the conference.
Well, Carlos, let me ask you a quick question. Let's put Alcorn and FAMU, Alcorn and Southern. All right, so we've lost 4 games by a total of 20 points. If you put that resume on Southern University, if Southern lost 4 games, conference games now, take out the non-conference stuff. We're in the game till the last 3 minutes of the game, 2 minutes of the game, and we can't make a play, and we lose by those thin margins. Do you think, just hypothetical, you think Terrence Graves is still the coach? The losses are still the losses, but you lose in closer games than the other. Would that make a difference, you think?
I use your word. The optics would look better, wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Okay, if you lose by 23 points a game on the road, you don't feel good, but not as bad as at home with losing against good quality teams. That now next year you flip and go to their place. So to answer your question, maybe the optics look better, but
the losses are the losses,
and the expectations still were there, and they didn't do well. And if they lose today, I think they're on a 4-game home losing streak.
The last time that's happened.
A long time.
Yeah.
And so it's just bad. The luck, whatever you want to say, it just was not a friend of this Southern University football team this year.
Yeah.
And so if they got to start over, clean house, whatever, I can only speak for myself. I'll still have high expectations, but Africa wasn't built in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so now sometimes you may have to take 2 steps back to make 3 steps forward. But again, in this culture, and by the way, I've had Alcorn people text me all the time. They feel the same darn way. They say they never thought they'd see the day Southern and Alcorn will be this bad in the season.
Well, I think the difference, Carlos, and this is just me. Obviously, what's being said here today is that there are a number of people that felt like Terrence Graves never should have been the coach to begin with. Okay, when Fred McNair decided he wasn't coming back, and when Cedric Thomas was named, probably 2/3 of Braves fans that I talked to were happy with Cedric Thomas being named. Mm-hmm. I interviewed him when he was a DC, sounded like a head coach, said all the right things. The coach speak was pretty good. And last year we were 6-6. But the way the 6-6 ended, the loss to Jackson State kind of have Braves fans take a pause. Didn't show up on this field to take on Jackson State. Didn't get it done at all. Then we lose to Northwestern State, a team that lost 20 in a row. So that kind of got things started sideways. We have played competitive. There have been anytime, I guess, and Wheeler would know this, anytime either you lose by an average of 23 points a game, or whether you lose by an average of 5 points a game, the typical assumption is going to be it's all on coaching.
Mm-hmm.
All on coaching. And so we are similar in that way, Carlos, is the fact that we're one play away each game from being in a different place. And folks are blaming coaching, just like they're blaming coaching for Southern University losing by an average of 23 a game. But I think the difference is that Cedric Thomas, to me, the people I've talked to, were widely accepted of him being the coach. But as the losses have mounted, the things that he has said has kind of been tuned out. And we're at a point now, I mean, we go for it the other day against FAMU, 4th down and 2 from our 35. But our defense couldn't get off the field. And so those things are being questioned. And so it's just a tough situation for us as well. A lot of similarities between Southern and Alcorn. And to your point, we never would think that Southern and Alcorn would be where we are right now, when we were fighting tooth and nail for SWAC championships for years. And now we're on the other side of the tracks on this.
But I would think, Charles, you guys, once you made that commitment to go with Thomas to be your head coach, and you guys gave him, a 3-year contract or what have you?
Yeah.
That you all would give him the opportunity to fulfill those 3 years, and go back at the end of year 3. Well, this year, at the end of this year, look and see what needs to be done, what went right, what went wrong, what's the plan going forward, that sort of thing. But come next year, at the end of next year, if things still aren't trending in the direction that you guys want to, then you feel good about the possibility of letting him go, okay, and then going to find a new coach, knowing that you gave this guy every opportunity to turn it around, and for whatever reason, he just wasn't the guy to get it done. Yeah, and with that in mind, no issue, no harm, no foul. Mr. President, you made a mistake hiring this guy, what have you. We got to eat this one. Let's see what we need to do moving forward. Let's go ahead and see where we are from there. Yeah, then everybody rests a little easier, I think, at the end of that day, as opposed to any of the other scenarios that have transpired.
And
Yeah, we'll.
I'm getting text message from not Southernites, one in particular. He just asked the question: when Dooley was fired, how much of his staff remained to work under Terrence Graves? Why? Could you reasonably expect success if most of the Dooley holdovers are still at Southern University? And that was a point I tried to make. Maybe I didn't make it to the point, but that's some of a faction that you hear in the Jaguar Nation asking the same thing. Now if I put myself in those shoes, I'm evaluating everybody, and I'm gonna come up with I feel is the best staff to work with me. And so, again, when I talked about loyalty can be good and it could be bad. And Coach Graves kept the majority of the assistants that was on Dooley's staff.
Well,
And
Carlos, he won the
again,
Western Division with that staff, right?
that's
With
a
the same
fact.
guys.
But then the next year, he dropped, but then remember I told you from the inside it was some things that he did. We discussed it on this show that led to him exiting the door much quicker. No coordinator. He couldn't have to change that because he was the coordinator. Everywhere he's been the coordinator. At least at Prairie View, he was a coordinator. So he took that onus on him.
Right.
And so, but I think it's a legitimate question. What was asked? If you keep the whole staff from the previous staff that went 6-6, or I think they ended up 6-5. I think the first year was 7-5, 8-5, something like that. Then it's a legitimate question. How do you expect success?
But how do you let go people from a championship staff, from a championship team, championship staff?
The first season, but that's the same staff was there the second season, and you didn't come close to winning a Western Division.
So at the end of the year,
so
you look to evaluate.
Do you analyze it?
You look to evaluate, and then you look to clean house at the end of the year.
Well,
like
again,
I just said, Carlos, you guys getting pushed around up front on both sides of the ball. So that's going to be a direct reflection to the guys who are coaching your offensive and your defensive lines. No doubt about that. That's 1 and 2. Okay.
And they were there.
They were there.
Wait a minute, Will. They were there with Dooley. They were there with Dooley, the same staff.
And you got to look at the strength and conditioning coach, because obviously there's some weight room issue going on. Anytime you get pushed around up front, that's a primary reason why. So I gotta look at the possibility of bringing in a strength coach.
They did.
So I mean, all those things are something that would probably, I ain't gonna say be put on the table, but if I'm the lead administrator at Southern, okay, at the end of this season, when I meet with Coach Graves, that's something we're going to discuss. This is what I've noticed. We're getting pushed around up front. Okay, I think we might need to make a change in the strength and conditioning area for football. Give me a football-only strength and conditioning coach. We got the largest budget in the SWAC. Let's try to make this happen. I want a guy whose job is to make the football team as strong as possible. not soccer, not baseball, not basketball, a football guy, football strength coach. Okay. I want to look at our offensive and defensive line coaches, technique wise, fundamental wise, what have you. There's somebody else better out there we may need to look to make some changes to. And now, Coach Graves, if you buck in terms of don't want to make those changes, okay, then at some point in time, we got to look at maybe moving in another direction. Because I'm putting
Mhm.
facts out here now, okay? I'm not just coming and just spitting in your face, that sort of thing. Let's look at the film. Pull the film up. We can see us getting pushed around, that sort of thing. We see where we need to possibly make changes, things of that nature. At least I'm coming with facts here, okay, and putting it out there on the table that we need to change some things up. But once again, those things happen at the end of the season, not during the middle of the year.
Well, the fact
For me,
is, yeah, the fact is 1-6. That's a fact.
yeah.
And to those in who make the choices after doing some adjustments, it still didn't work, and they made their decision, and that's their decision. Now we can have our opinions about I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it to the end of the season, but ultimately, the big question was going to have to be answered, regardless, middle, end, next year. There's probably something that said just wait till contract is over and say we'll just go in a different direction. If the trend shows that you're still going, what if in 2026 you're 3-9? There's no doubt about it then. But then one of them 9-3 makes a more difficult decision. Win the West, didn't, then was in contention.
I think if it wasn't so, I think from Southern's perspective, if it wasn't as bad as it is, you might have been able to hang in with Graves a little bit longer. But just the way the product looked, and I think you mentioned it, the home games, the bad home losses, bad loss on homecoming. I mean, that stuff agitates and aggravates an already bad situation. And so I think those things, especially at home, I mean, Southern has an attractive home schedule this year. Jackson State, Alabama State, and the Prairie View. I mean, I think in FAMU, they got FAMU today. But I just think we're just talking about just what the games they've had at home so far. I think probably fans said enough was enough. And that's unfortunately, that's all a part of it. And yes, it's year 2, but if it wasn't as bad as it is, I do think you could have hung in there with it a little bit. But because it's not, they feel like they need to make the change right now. And what the future looks like. I mean, Coach McNair's got the reins right now. Apparently, he's not going to be the permanent head coach going forward after this season. So it's going in a new direction, probably a different head coach than what we expect. I think that could be a good thing because I think fans expect the same old recycled names. It's probably not going to be that this go around for Southern. And I think those who didn't support Graves to begin with probably wanted a big broom to sweep it clean a couple of years ago, but they didn't. So now Southern's got to start from scratch, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to start from scratch. These coaches aren't going to be there. The whole attitude about things is going to change with a new head coach, especially someone that's outside the box. So I'm anxious to see how that turns out.
And when we get to SWAC Football Media Day, there'll be some new faces. Not just at Southern. My prediction. Those who can will. Those who can't, they're stuck. Now, every institution financial is different. Each game plan is different at each institution. So maybe you should put something up there, an asterisk. This job at Southern, at least football, is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Try the things that have been tried in the past and going now. If that's your style, fine. But as is, certain expectations at Southern University. And I don't think it's that a big far off drop from the other tops in this conference. You can be willing to bet a nickel or a dollar. If Jackson State was in the same situation, boom, gone. Grambling, I'm not sure. They're probably with the norm. Alabama State, Eddie Robinson has taken some heat, but they're having a great season this season. Valley, different situation. Alcorn, different situation. Alabama A&M, they decided to move on. And the good thing about this, we can compare and contrast. 3-4 years from now, let's see if some institutions are still spinning or some have done better, have some going in reverse. It's just a crazy sports culture now that goes on.
I would think, Alabama State would probably be one of those where patience was the order of the day.
Oh yeah.
Because there were some times early on in Eddie Robinson's first few years there where they weren't doing well. But for whatever reason, they stayed the course, and now they're pretty much reaping the rewards of that, particular longevity, quote unquote. And so there's a model there for patience being the order of the day.
Well, for me, Wheeler, when I look at Alabama State, and this is on the record, Eddie Robinson Jr. has been through a dozen quarterbacks in his tenure there. He can't keep one healthy. He finally does an Andrew Body, who really is really a great comeback story, in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And so I think that's all he was missing. Now his defense has sprung some leaks, and I think he's got to get that fixed. But offensively, that's all they've needed is a healthy and serviceable and productive quarterback. And Body has been all of that this season. But when you talk to Dr. Cable, it is a step ladder approach. He wants to get better each and every year. And I think for the most part, despite the quarterback struggles, they're right there. I mean, they got to hope Jackson drops a couple, which the way they're playing, you never know, but they're playing really well right now. And so, but Alabama State's right in the conversation. If you rank the teams 1 through 12, Alabama State's got to be in your top 3 or 4 in the whole Southwestern Athletic Conference. Heck with the division. But you got to put Alabama State right up there. That's something that wasn't the case when Eddie Robinson Jr. took over.
And nobody had any issue with Maynard being let go at A&M. He had gotten ample time in order to get it done. And I think he won a championship during the COVID year or what have you, that sort of thing. But, didn't show proper progress over time. But it wasn't because he hadn't gotten every opportunity to do so, resource-wise and otherwise. So when you're in situations like that, I think folk are a little less likely to have an issue than they are with, those who are just in it a short period of time and, not really getting an opportunity to turn the roster over, so forth and so on.
But you're also missing the elephant in the room, Willie. You know what that is?
What's that?
Magic City Classic. They beat A&M in the Magic City. That's in the room. If they weren't beating A&M in the Magic City, we might be having a different conversation.
Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all know how much value those kind of games have.
Yeah, absolutely.
About that.
Yeah.
So I've seen coaches hired and fired on the spot, for losing rivalry games, that in particular, that sort of thing. So
Carlos hates that. Carlos is all about the overall body of work, not just one game.
You win one game, you're happy. You lose the rest, you're happy because you won the Magic City Classic. Anyway. We've got about 10 minutes left in the show. I just don't understand that one. But last week in the conference, of course, Prairie View over Southern 24-3. Mississippi Valley State all over Lincoln 49-0. It was FAMU over Alcorn State 33-28. Grambling State over Pine Bluff 20-16. And Texas Southern over Virginia Lynchburg 61-10. Not much to say about last week. The teams that were supposed to win, they did. Some in dominating fashion, guys.
Yeah, and we might be done after this week with this conversation of the Lincolns and the Lynchburgs, the Virginia Lynchburg. I think we're probably gonna move on from that.
I hope so. It's about time.
It won't hurt my feelings, trust me.
But Tremaine Jackson complaining he wants to sell out at Panther Stadium. He's scratching his head wondering where the Panther fans. The game should be a sellout. I get what he's saying, but I think someone said, "Hey, coach," and I kind of agree. And I like Tremaine Jackson. He's very confident. Just keep winning. You win, the fans will come. You don't have to worry about it.
Playing Lincoln, Charles. He got time to sell tickets.
And beautiful facility, beautiful campus, but that's always been the comment about why not, before Coach Jackson was there, why not sell out, have many sellouts. There's always a question about how much support did they really do. And by the way, it's happy homecoming for Prairie View A&M today. The opponent will have a part in these discussions, but it's just a question mark. Why not more well-attended games at Prairie View A&M? They got everything in place.
I think that's why they built the stadium capacity the way that they did. They knew, historically, wasn't no need to build a 20,000 seat stadium. 15 is enough, and that was good size for the crowds that they draw. So I mean, it's not like historically, and historically they have been doing well, like when they had Frazier there, that sort of thing. So I mean, all during that particular time, if they thought or could envision it being a 20,000 seat stadium when they built it, they could have done such, but they built it the right size for the crowds that they get. So I mean, it kind of is what it is on that one, I would think.
Yeah, but beautiful stadium.
Yeah,
nice.
it is. Definitely.
It's nice. So it's there.
Yeah.
For the taking. Maybe then they've had a couple of division championships in the last 10, 12 years. Went to SWAC championship a couple of times. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Saturday, October 25th, a lot of afternoon games, pretty much all of them, except a late afternoon game. Mississippi Valley State at Alcorn State, 2 p.m. SWAC TV. Prediction time. I like Alcorn State in this game, but it'll be closer than many think. We'll perhaps think.
I like Alcorn also.
You guys were talking about the weather. We've had light rain here, and it's expected to continue. Really light, nothing heavy as of yet. So it'll be kind of a wet track. The Braves are going to run the football, but Valley is number 3 in the league in stopping the run. So that's going to be the matchup we'll have to
pass the ball to win somewhat.
Yeah. Well, Jalen Kroger did some good things with his feet for the first time all year because it's been there. It's been open all year. He took advantage of it. He'll have to continue to do that. I think coming home, if the Braves can just make a few more plays and cut down on some mistakes, I think Valley will be in for a dogfight. But they're going to play hard, though. Terrell Buckley said you're going to be in a dogfight when you play Valley. We've seen that. But I think the Braves at home, I think they find a way to win this game.
Charles, I'm wondering if heavier rain is coming because it is storming here. I mean, pretty heavy.
The forecast calls for a little bit of rain during the game. From the forecast, not a lot of heavy stuff. You can play through rain, but lightning's a whole nother deal. So I think it'll be, off and on throughout the course of the game. But I think I hope it's no delays, but I think we'll get it in.
Yeah. Right now it's storming pretty good, but it's a 4:00 game for Southern. So it appears that most of the heavy stuff will have moving out during that time. But hey, you still got to play the game.
Yeah.
The rain affects both teams. It doesn't rain when Southern has the ball and then FAMU has the ball. It doesn't rain. Arkansas Pine Bluff at Bethune-Cookman, 2 p.m. SWAC TV. Bethune-Cookman is rolling offensively. I was looking at the stats. They need to get better defensively. And I think running up against a top team in the conference, they're going to have trouble, but no trouble today. I think they defeat Arkansas Pine Bluff, and I think they'll pull away in the second half.
Yeah, I got Bethune-Cookman. UAPB up and coming. A lot of our Braves fans are upset losing to UAPB in Memphis, but then UAPB gets blown out by Texas Southern. That's another thing that's agitating Braves fans. But I think Texas Southern, that says more about Texas Southern. I think Bethune-Cookman is playing well. I don't know if UAPB on the road has enough offense. I'm going with Bethune.
I'm going with Bethune also.
Consensus there. Lincoln at Prairie View A&M, 2 p.m. SWAC TV. Happy homecoming to PV. They'll win, but Coach Jackson will have something. He reminds me of my late uncle. He always has something that he wants to get off his chest. He'll have something to get off about this game, but it's going to be a blowout. It's really going to be a blowout. Enough said for me on that.
Next game.
Prairie View by a lot.
All right. The Magic City Classic. Game of the week, I would say. In the conference, Alabama A&M, new coach. Alabama State, pretty good football team this year. I'm going to probably be in the minority on this. I'm going with Alabama State in this one. I think they get a little bit of payback.
I was kind of on the fence with this one, but Sam Shade said in the press conference this week that Brown is not playing in this game, their quarterback. And he's the straw that stirs their drink for them. I just don't think they're the same team offensively. So I'm going with Alabama State in this one. If I was maybe leaning a little towards A&M, but without Brown, they're a different ball. They're a different ball club, and Body's playing lights out. Now we can talk about that last play against Jackson. We can talk about all that, but he's been something special. And so I'm going with Alabama State.
I'm going with Alabama State by 10.
I would go with Alabama State even if Brown was playing. That's how confident I am of Alabama State. FAMU at Southern. Coach McNair, questions. Will he change personnel somewhat? Will he stay the same? Once again, who will start at quarterback? I would think it would be Ashton, but who knows? At Bethune-Cookman, they went with McCoy. Rainy conditions, and someone in the chat room said it should clear up by 4 p.m. That's correct. Wow, that's a tough one. Last week I said undecided. I'm still undecided. But I guess I got to have a pick, right? Until shown better, I'm going to pick FAMU with the victory today. I just hope I'm wrong.
I'm going with Southern University. I think Fred McNair rallies the troops. A lot of the conversation and negativity is behind him for right now. With first game coach McNair's been on that staff. I think he rallies the troops. And knowing Coach McNair when he was here, we had Jarvion Howard, a dynamic back. I think he's going to feed Trey Holly quite a bit. I think the Jaguars are going to up their level of play. I think they're going to win this game today. I'm going with Southern University.
I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. Wheeler?
I'm going with FAM today, and I'm uncertain in terms of Southern's mindset right now. That was a big blow early in the week, with coach being let go, that sort of thing. And, so kind of wondering what the mindset is of the players overall. And even though Coach McNair, is a veteran and, knows what to do, the right buttons to push and all that sort of thing, I don't know if at some point in time there's not going to be some carryover in terms of emotions. So I'm looking at FAMU by 3.
And, somebody made a good point, and I've made it on the show, and we've had discussions about it. Southern is a big play, only play type offense. They're just not built this year for those drives. And then in the weather conditions with a synthetic brand new turf shouldn't affect that. If they get a little rain during the game, but it goes back to the central question again. Southern's inefficiency in passing has been the doom for them, and teams are still going to play them the same way. Yeah, there you go. EA. No, the kiss of death for Carlos. That's the way I would play Southern until they prove otherwise. So yeah, I hope I'm wrong about Southern and FAMU. Last one is Grambling State and Jackson State on HBCU Go 5 p.m. They're in Vegas. Boy, they're laying down the odds. They're spending all that money. Grambling defeated Jackson State last year. I think Jackson State remembers that. They're humming along pretty good. There's no doubt about it. They're number one in the conference. I predict Jackson State to spank Grambling State. And by the way, the promoter, the CEO of the Classic, he's a Grambling-ite. So no funny business going on in Vegas. I'm taking Jackson State in this game, and they're going to spank them well.
Yep, as a Grambling-ite, I have to say, Grambling lost a tough game last week, a game that they had that they let slip through their fingers. I don't know about Mickey Joseph's future. I don't know. We'll see. That's another conversation for another day. Jackson's rolling right now. They won a tough game in which they didn't play their best. Credit Alabama State. But I don't think Grambling has enough offense. I got Jackson State winning this one and winning it big.
And by the way, Mickey Joseph, although the Carlos Brown contract didn't come up on this show, this week, Mickey Joseph, it was him. He that wanted 2 years.
Yeah.
Not the 4 or 5 years. And let me say this. At Southern University, as I said before, you can get 5 or 6 years. You're just going to get it on the back end. If you're proven to do so, the days of 4 or 5 years up front, as of now, is still the same. Will they change that now? Will the firm recommend? Because that's all they're doing, recommending. Will they recommend? You got to go with the average and offer 4 and 5. But you see all across the landscape, coaches with success, you have one bad year, you're gone. We can look at the higher level of college football. They've got the money. They can do it. Crosstown, if Kelly doesn't make the playoff with an $18 million roster, they'll simply just write a check and you're gone. On our level, that doesn't happen that much. But for some kind of way, Southern has been able to take care of all of this money with these contracts. So in my closing, it's going to all be on those who have the influence. They've got to nail this one. You tried it the other way with the direct hires. That didn't work. Or some say it did work. But Southern says it didn't work to their liking. We will see.
Can't screw this one up, Carlos. Too much money to be made and too much money to lose to screw it up.
Because if that doesn't go right, then the boat will be emptied. It will be emptied. Then we'll start over 2 by 2, putting them in the ark. That's the fans. Then we'll come and then we'll set sail in a brand new landscape. But it's been interesting. I've been asked, who do I like? I won't reveal on this show because that could be the kiss of death. That means that we need to end. On that note, appreciate the conversation. It was energized. It was heated at times. But at the end of the day, make sure you tune in next Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time for the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, peace and God bless.